All right. Hello. Let me turn that off. Okay. Hey, how's it going? I hope you are doing well today. I'm doing alright. Just chilling. Thanks for your patience. Sorry for starting. Originally said I was gonna start at 2, and then I said 2:30, and then turned out to be 3 o'clock. My bad. I got distracted. But yeah, here we are. We're doing some sight reading and stuff. This should be fun. We're going to start off with scales, just talk about scales, break them down into their core components, and yeah, we're going to start with scales. Give me 1 second. Super scuffed. Where's the welcome back? Be right back. Yeah, sorry. Okay, cool. Sorry about that. Crazy chaotic, but it's fine. Just gotta vibe with it, you know? But yeah, so we're gonna start with some scale talk. Um, we'll talk about like the execution of scales in the audition, because there's this year the one big difference with scales this year is that instead of saying, oh, you have to play it at 120, there's a time limit for each scale. I mentioned this really briefly, I think, in the last All-State prep stream I had, where I played through all the etudes and briefly talked about scales. But today we're going to kind of dive more into that. So let me see if I can find those scales first of all. I might have to re-download them, but that's okay. But yeah, I hope you are having a great day. Now this is a weird time. I don't think I probably have streamed on this Sunday before, but it's been a while. Feels weird to be streaming on Sunday. Not really, but I don't know, man. Don't I have a... Yeah, we're just going to re-download them. Okay. But yeah, we're going to talk about scales. I'm going to look for the 910 one and pull that one up. I guess I might as well pull up all of them, but let's see. All-State Band, audition information, middle school scales, symphonic band. Yeah, and of course, like always, we're just looking at the tuba stuff. So yeah, that's all we're going to be looking at today. I think this is a good change. Instead of having just requiring at 120, because I experimented with it a tiny bit the last time. And it seems like you do have time to like kind of take a second in between each scale and also not take the scales at 120 if you don't want to. But also I think the good thing with this is if you play more scales, because obviously you can always play more scales than what you're given. I'm pretty sure. Or it might be I'm not sure. Don't quote me completely on that. But I know at least you can play as many octaves as you want for any scale. We'll look at, like, here's I'm just gonna do it like this. So I don't have to worry about making a window capture. Yeah, here we go. Let's change that to that. Yeah, so like here we have the audition information. Shove that in the back. Yeah. Okay. So we have the audition sheets. We're gonna skip down to the tuba. But you can kind of see they all look the same basically. It's just they have the instrument listed at the top. But yeah, see, you can play 1 octave scale. You'll get a point for playing the up part, the down part, and then for the arpeggio. So basically you get a point per measure, right? So if we look at the scale sheets, up, down, arpeggio. And then, yeah, so up, down, arpeggio, and then you get 2 points for that. Still 1 point for arpeggio. So if we look at, let's go back to there. I know this isn't us, but you can kind of see like the arpeggio is still, it's extended at 2 measures from 1, or 3 measures from 1, 2 measures. Or 1 measure. It was 1 measure and now it's 2 measures. Yeah, so it's still 1 point. That doesn't change at all. But yeah, so that could be, but yeah, because I don't think, with it being like this, I don't think there's really any room to be like, oh, let's also add C to this. Could be wrong about that. I haven't yet had the pleasure of scoring an audition yet, but let's hide that. But that's just my guess for it. But yeah, so like I said, I'm actually gonna pull up. Where's my downloads? Downloads. Yeah, so we'll start with the middle school one. Just keep things nice and simple. Boop-a-doo. There we go. Oops, wrong thing. Good. There we go. Okay. Yes, we got our scales. Middle school band. And as you can see, time limit for this is 1 minute. So basically that means, playing in a minute. So let's get a timer out really fast. I really wish there was like a widget inside of OBS that was like, here's a timer. I know there's stuff on Streamlabs, but it doesn't seem as specific to what I want, where you can just be like start, stop, and I could be just, I haven't found it. I don't know. But what am I looking for? A timer. So we're doing 1 minute. All right. Let's do add window capture. Create new timer. Okay. It is. What? Oh, it is in use. Okay. All right, cool. So there's our timer. Let's just shove it like that. We don't really care about most of that stuff. But yeah, so there's our timer. I'm just gonna run through the scales, just kind of show you how easy it is. And 3, 2, 1. I think I just super peaked out the audio input. My bad. Let's try that. Check this recording really fast. Just want to make sure the audio levels are great. Let's try that. So now how does it look like that? Test 1, 2. Hello, hello. Let me try. Sorry, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing with all this junk, but I try my best. Test 1, 2. Hello, hello. Okay, that volume is good, so we need to turn down the volume over here for the tuba. Still looks very red. Let's try that one. Let's do one more. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, cool. Sorry for the distraction, but now let's test out the time limit for these etudes. Here we go. And go. And look at that. We had like 5 seconds to spare there. So let me read that text really quickly. Okay. Yeah. But you saw even there, I had some issues. But I was still able to make it within the time. So let's see what time that is. What tempo that is. Da, Maybe a little bit above 100. So it's pretty chill. You don't have to go, if you want to go 120, you're welcome to. But as we just showed, I'll do one more try, see if I can get this, but a little bit better than it was the last time without the distractions. But yeah, so even going 100, you can pretty easily get through all the scales. So I think this new system is going to be really great, and a lot of people are going to like it a lot, I think. Could be wrong about that. Maybe people will hate it. But I don't know. I think it's a much better system than forcing to go. You have to go fast, right? Because I feel like that invites more, not injury, but just carelessness. Yeah. But yeah, so I'm going to try it one more time. We're going to do 1 minute, then we're going to do middle school, same kind of thing. But yeah, here we go. One more time on the middle school scales. So you see, it's pretty easy. You can, even at 100, I mean, obviously if you go faster, you'll probably give yourself a tiny bit more time in between scales. But you see there, I kind of counted in my head like 1, 2, 3, 4 in between each time I did it. So you have plenty of time to take your time. And you don't have to rush. So, okay. But yeah, let's look at concert band. Yeah, we're going to go through all of these just to test the times and stuff. And then we're going to kind of break down the scales. We're going to talk about what makes a scale a scale. Yeah. And also, I will say, and I'll also give some further tips on what to do after you've learned all of your scales. But yeah, so let's try this one. This one's a little bit more time because we have double the amount of scales, and now we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 2-octave scales and 4 1-octave scales, right? No, 5. So I just mean 4 more than the previous. Because obviously F is the 1 2-octave scale that you do in middle school, that you're required to do in middle school. But as we get higher, there's more expectations. So let's try middle school, or 9 through 10. And this one has 2 minutes. So here we go. And I think for this one, I'm going to purposefully try to go around 110. What? Yeah. And hey, Jonathan, thanks for coming by. No worries. Thanks for coming by today. But yeah, so for that one, uh, you have less time, more scales. So, because I don't know if we were going around 110. Yeah, we're probably a bit under 110. Um, but yeah, so for the 910 ones, those I would say, and it kind of makes sense that you'd have to take a little bit more. You need to keep going more, as opposed to taking your time, which I think is completely fair. Um, but yeah, so that one you don't really have as much time, even though I technically, according to the rules, I did end. Even though the timer went off, um, the new rules for this say that um, that would have been okay because they're just timing for 2 minutes, and then when 2 minutes up, they let you finish whatever scale you're in the middle of. So that would have been perfectly fine. Although honestly, I think I would have taken a break there for a second, but but I was like, I knew that the timer was about to go out. So I don't know. You might want to get used to playing that one straight back to back, just taking a breath, like dun 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 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4 dun, and just taking like a single breath in between. Yeah, yeah. But I hope you're having a great day, Jonathan. My day's doing pretty well, pretty chill. Got heavily distracted by things and stuff. But yeah. But I will say, if you probably go closer to 120 for these, you might give yourself some time to kind of take a break. So let's try last one. Here is the symphonic band. Scales. I'm not going to scroll down as we play them. I guess I could zoom out. How far do I have to zoom out to show all these? You get the idea. I mean, I assume if you're doing this, you kind of know you have your scale sheet with you, so it's not as much of a big deal. But um, so for this one, I'm gonna try my best to go around 120, and I'm not really gonna take as many breaks. Dun, 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 dun. But yeah, so in this one, we have even more scales. We have all 12. So here we go. Oh, let me reset the timer. We're at 2:45. I think that's what that says. Yeah, 2:45. Okay. So I hope I get these in the right order. We're just starting from sharps, going around. I might just keep this one out just so I keep up with the order. But let me see. A flat, D flat, G flat, B, E, A, D. Okay, and the 2-octave scales are E and A and G flat, A flat, B flat, F, and G. Okay. Yep. Let's go. So here's the 11, 12 scales GMEA. Here we go. All right. So that one you really don't have time to really take a break at all. You really have to keep going. And if you messed up a scale, just keep moving. I know I tried something I've always heard, and I think is still valid. I think it's still valid most of the time, but it's okay sometimes to retry something if you know you're gonna get it the second time. Which I thought I was gonna do with D flat, but we did it like what 3-4 times before I nailed it. Um, um, so yeah, I would suggest if you have to retry one scale, try it only one more time, and regardless of whether you get it or not, keep moving. Because that one missed scale, I mean, like we said from the score sheet, what for D it would have been what is that, 3 points? Yeah, and in the time because we missed, I think it was A. Was A the only scale you missed? Because I know I skipped from E here to D here. So we skipped out on that. So what if I had have just missed that minus 3 points, versus I missed this whole scale. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 points. So I tried to get 3 points and missed 5. Having a good day. Have some more work in a bit. Nice. That's good. Hope work goes well later. But yeah, so yeah, just I would say suggest playing it like this. It's at least good prep for playing it the same way. But we're gonna give it one more try, and I think I was pretty close to 120 on that. I might have been a bit higher. Dun, 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 dun. No, I think I was pretty much on 120. Okay, cool. So I nailed 120 on the head. That's good. But yeah, so most of them, the first one you especially have time. Second one, less time. And this one you have very much less time. Just keep moving forward. And try this one more time. I'm going to play a D flat scale once just to make sure it's in my head and I don't goof up like I did that time. Honestly, I think it was for some reason I was skipping from the C. I was skipping the C to B flat transition. C flat to the, yeah. I don't know. I don't know what my fingers were doing. Because I think I was skipping from C to A flat, C flat to A flat, or C to A flat. Yeah, not C flat. C flat's in this scale. But yeah, one more attempt at that. And then we're gonna break down scales. Just talk about scales, what they are. Yeah, really briefly. We'll probably do it for about 20-ish minutes, and then we'll move on to sight reading. We'll talk about some different resources you can use to help you be better for sight reading. But yeah, here we go. Here is that one more time. Whoa. Okay. Yeah, that's honestly, you have to be right on it. Yeah, that's tricky. But I think that's not very hard. This one, yeah, I would say recommended speed at least 120, if not closer to 130 or 140 might be a good tempo to strive for. Yeah, and just make sure you're right on it. But yeah, anyways, cool. Yeah, but let's go ahead and move on. Let's talk let's do yeah. Yeah. So I'm going to put the tuba away very briefly, and we're going to talk about just a couple of strategies for learning scales, and also how do scales even work? What are they? Um, because who knows, right? I'm just kidding. We do know. Which is the hold on. Hmm. Okay. Yeah. Let's use this screen. Why don't I have logic capture? I don't know. But yeah, so let's go ahead and switch to webcam. Get rid of that one. We're gonna remove that actually. Nice. That's good to hear. Do we have a finale? No. So let's go to there's finale. Okay. Let's do this. Move this down here. Move it like that. And transition. Cool. Okay. Okay, cool. So let's talk about scales. Obviously, scales are, first of all, let's get rid of this not so great clef. Yep, there we go. That's much better. Okay. How does that look? Yeah. Okay. So scales, pretty simple. Well, I'll just no, it got off. Okay. This is our scale. Pretty simple. And even there, we can kind of see how it's formed. We have two different tetrachords that are spaced out. Each tetrachord is, we have the same basic pattern. Hold on. Give me a sec. Sorry, I'm just trying to adjust this to a place where I can see the chat still. But yeah, so we have two different tetrachords. Each tetrachord is made of the same pattern, which is there's a whole step from the first to the second note. We have another whole step, surprise. And then we have a half step. So, and it's the same thing over here. Whole, whole, half. Yeah. So it's the same basic thing. We have two tetrachords that are spaced apart, and of course the interval between them is a whole step. That's the basic premise behind major scales, at least. Scales in general, it's just a collection of tones to define music. Most genres, scales are, yes, they're more of a Western kind of classical, 18th century white European music theory concept. It's not completely a worldwide thing where everyone's scales and pieces are built off of these same concepts. It's going to be different wherever you are, whether you're in America or America's based on it. But if you're like somewhere where there's a lot more folk style music, your music might not be built off the same kind of things. We could probably analyze it in a Western style, that white European style, and make something that makes sense to us. But it would still be, ultimately, it's off of something else. But yeah, for what we're talking about, this is kind of the main pattern we're looking for. And the cool thing about these little structures here is that we can kind of rearrange these to form other scales. Like this pattern, for example, you might recognize this as the first four notes of the F scale, F major scale. Yeah, that's because it is. So we can, and then we can form the next tetrachord, which would be C, this C. Yeah, so it'd be those notes. I'm gonna shift this down. Have to adjust everything, but it's fine. Pretty simple adjustment. But yeah, so then we have another tetrachord here. Same thing. It's the same whole, half, because we have a half step here. Just because, in the way you can think about whether it's a whole step or a half step, is there a note in between, right? So if we go like from the first notes, B flat to C, you know it's a whole step, because chromatically, it's B flat, B natural, then C. And the same thing with all of these. We can kind of figure out this from C, right? C to D. We have C, D flat, and then D. And then from D to E flat, there's nothing really in between. I mean, theoretically, yes. You could probably make like a half step, uh, like a quarter tone in between, but at least in our Western style music, uh, there's nothing really in between those two notes. Because if we do D sharp, that's just the same as E flat. Both of those sound the same. And the way you can also hear this is if you play the two notes and it sounds like Jaws, kind of. Then you know it's hopefully the piano is coming through clearly. I didn't check the balance for that. Oh yeah, it looks like the levels are coming in through fine. Cool. But yeah, so that's kind of what you can think about if you're questioning whether something's a whole step or a half step. And of course, with these talking about whole steps versus half steps, highly recommend working on your chromatic scale to kind of understand this better, because it's just all half steps. So we can know from there. Like, I'm gonna do this in eighth notes. And there's our 1 octave arpeggio from B flat to B flat. So we know all these are half steps. So B to C is a whole step, C to D is a whole step, D to E is a whole step. So, which sounds different. That gives a different vibe. We call all whole steps. That's what we call a whole tone scale. I'm tripping. Try that one more time. I had a brain fart in the middle of that, but yeah, here we go. Whole tone scale. And it just keeps going. We can honestly just keep going with that. It's the same kind of thing. There's really only two forms of this scale. We have this one, and then we have one that's half step apart, which is so those are two forms of whole tone that we will see ever. We can start and end on different notes, but ultimately those are the two scales types. Either one that starts going from B flat to C, or B natural to C sharp or D flat. Because this is a 7-note scale, as you can see, versus previously we did 8-note scale with the major scale. This one is a 7-note scale. So it's going to be a little bit what's the word? Asymmetric. It's not symmetric. Versus this, we can easily say, oh yeah, the arpeggio for B flat is, yeah, we can split it up. Like we can do 1, 3, 5, 1, or like we did here, 4 and 3. Versus this one's not so easily split up. Like we could do like, for this one we could do B flat, do our augmented chord, or you could do C, E, A flat. Basically, I mean, yeah, actually, yeah. I guess I never really thought about that too much, but it's essentially, we just have two overlaid augmented chords. And we can keep going. etc., etc. But we're going a little bit too deep down the theory rabbit hole. Let's go back to scales, where it's major scales. But yeah, so you can keep on rearranging these to find other scales. Like for example, this is the first tetrachord of C. So we can go over here. We're actually going to shift that down an octave. So we don't have to go so high. And then we go up to the next 4 notes. Yeah. And then we have the first 4 notes of G, and it keeps on going. And we can kind of do the same opposite. Like, these are the last 4 notes of E flat. So we can, let's do the opposite here. We're going to transpose this up an octave. And then we can find the first 4 notes here very easily. Like that. And just keep on using the same pattern. We can kind of rinse and repeat this. These are the first 4 of A. And then we can keep going. Basically, I wish I could make, is there a way to make a circle? Tools. Basically, this all goes back to our circle of fifths, which I have. Don't have that here. Let's see, image. Why is it not here? Hold on. I don't know why I don't have my. It is there. Huh? Sorry, I'm tripping out. Image. Oh, I have to do. There we go. Really big. Sorry. Basically comes back down to our circle of fifths here. Just remember the first 4. Or let's move it over here so you can see both of them together. Just remember, if we're like, let's start in B flat. If we take the first 4 notes of B flat and we use those as the last 4 notes of a scale, we're going this way, like we did. See? Last 4 went here. And then we're, actually you probably can't see my mouse like that. Last 4, or first 4 right here, went over here, an octave higher, and we just added 4 notes below it. We can use the same pattern to establish this. But that's how you can find scales within a nutshell. Now let's talk about a couple of, now that we've learned a lot about scales, how can we learn scales better? Straight tripping, basically. Yeah, it is a lot. Hopefully that makes sense somewhat. And basically ways of we can learn scales better. We can just start one at a time. So a pattern I still do this pattern occasionally, but we can just do 1, and just keep adding notes like this. Nope, that was the wrong note there. And then we add, take a breath, and then etc., etc., until we get the whole scale. We just kind of rinse and repeat that, and imagine there's a rest right here. But it's a pretty simple way I like to do. And then, of course, the next thing, once you feel comfortable with that, I would say add in both. So we go 5, Now let's zoom out just a tad. Squeeze those measures together. What just happened? Did I zoom out a lot? I think we zoomed in a lot. Okay. Let's do 5. Yeah, so you can do that. That's the next step of it. Adding, so I think, and I would say this is even better than this one, because this way we're working on both directions at once, versus this one, we're just going upwards. And you could probably copy this for downwards, where you could start high, go low. Same thing with this, start high, go low, add more notes. That could be a good way if you're less comfortable with the bottom octave, like for, like let's say you're learning the G flat scale. Or no, let's do E. Yeah, let's say E. If you're learning the E major scale. Where's that? Yeah, you're learning the E major scale there. Line 52. You could start here and work your way down. That could be a good way of kind of working on that. I'll play a little bit of that, just kind of showcase it. Yeah. And if you feel like you're not having that much ease with it, then take it slow. Go to where you can and take it slower. Like you might want to go, no, just put it down. But another alternative to that, you might want to slur it to kind of like feel the note below it. So you can do something like that to kind of slur in between. No worries. That's fine. Actually, that helped me realize that my webcam. There we go. That's better. Dang. Well, maybe you do just have bad internet. Just kidding. I'm playing, but yeah. So that's kind of a strategy for learning scales. If you're learning the lower octave and you're less comfortable with the lower octave, just something really simple. I'm trying to think if there's any other tips and tricks I can think of. One other thing, I'll make an attempt at this, but I practiced it like 3 weeks ago. for a bit, and then I was like, I'm done with this, but I'll try it. Another thing that might help you learn the scales, you could coordinate them with that, like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 meme thing that has been going around. Gotta get ready to go back to work now. Hope you have a good rest of the stream. Thanks, man. Hope you have a good day. Have a good one. But yeah, you can do the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's basically it's a whole counting thing. That's set to a beat. We're just gonna do it to a metronome. We're gonna go 110. But it's basically just we're going straight eighth notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 5, 6, 7, 8. 6, 7, 8. 7, 8. 8. 8. 7, 8. 6, 7, 8. 5, 6, 7, 8. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's yeah, but I'll try to play it. You can see it with scales. I'm gonna play it on C. But that might be a good strategy. I don't know. If you're into memes and stuff, that might be good for you. But for me, I don't know. It's very weird to think about for me. I don't know. I guess it's not too bad, but just me personally, I'm not a big fan of it. I don't know, but that could be a good way of learning scales. Trying to do that for all of your scales. I would recommend learning your scales first. I don't think that's a great way of like first thing learning scales. We're gonna play it to this pattern. I could be wrong. That's just my 2 cents on it. But anyways, yeah, let's move into sight reading. Because I think we about exhausted scales and such. But yeah, so although I will say, the more you learn your scales, the better you'll be at sight reading. Just because, like I said earlier, our music is built on scales. So the more scales you know, the more music you can learn. Because you don't have to worry too much about what key is this in? Oh, I don't know this fingering pattern. It's like, oh, you know it because you already played the scales. And something you might want to work on in addition to the scales is do scale patterns like scales and thirds. There's the one pattern that goes like this. Doing that in different keys could help. And like I said, scales in thirds. Always a great one. And if you really want to challenge yourself, try to do intervals beyond thirds, like scales in fourths, scales in fifths, etc., etc. I will say it gets, from personal experience, it does get a little bit more tricky, but let's try scales in fourths. Something like that. It gets a little bit weirder though. It's not, once you get past thirds, it's a little bit harder to line up, make it sound, I don't know a good word for this, but make it sound good. I don't know. I'm gonna try it one more time. It's like there we ended on D right above the C. Just to me seems like it might be the best place to stop. I don't know, you could always just end it with I don't know. But here's one more attempt at that. I don't know. Just something to experiment with, to learn. And I think with that, I think it helps you kind of learn the scales better, because you're always going to follow like this general scale pattern, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., etc. But you're just adding an extra note in between. So it's one. So it'd be like the scales in fourths that I just did would be like 1, 4, 2, 5, 3, 6, 4, 7, 5, 1, 6, 2, 7, 3, 1, 4, 2. So you're just, I mean, at the basis, you're still playing a scale, but you're just adding that extra note in between. So it could help to kind of learn those better. But yeah, so let's talk about some general sight reading tips. There are a lot of resources out there nowadays that can help you sight read better. The biggest suggestion I have for how to work on sight reading is slightly a cop out, but I think it's very true. It's just read more things, play more things. The more different things you read, the more okay you'll be with sight reading. Yeah, it's a pretty simple hack, but it's effective. Just like I would say in your practice, when you're practicing, like maybe 1 to 3 times a week at least, um, just like get a book, get some etude book that you've never read from before for your instrument, and try to read one new etude. Of course, try to like actually practice the etude. I'd recommend getting something on your level. Like if you're starting out with this, a great book is first book. Let me see if I can show it. There we go. First book, Practical Studies. I'm pretty sure they have this for most brass instruments. I don't know about woodwinds or strings, but at least brass instruments, they have it all. There's also a second book. If you get through the first book and you're like, this was easy, there's a second book, which is what we'll be using today. Because I've read through all of the first book, and I've maybe glanced at the second book once or twice. So those are great. If you're more advanced, you've played through those. For brass, especially, some books to look into are Bordoni, Koprosh, Snedeker for tuba, specifically because it's low etudes for tuba. There is a Snedeker for euphonium now, which I think is also the same for. It's the same thing as the tuba trumpet ones, I think. Let's see. Oh, who's it? Kevin Day has a book of etudes. I haven't looked at them yet. We'll look at those soon probably, but I don't know how accessible those are to middle or high school students, but those might be something to look into if you haven't really looked at very much. Just looking at etude books. And the other thing, if you have a friend who you play with occasionally, a great book by Mountain Peak, published by Mountain Peak Music, is the Big Book of Sight Reading Duets. 90% certain they have this for literally every wind instrument now. So even if your best friend that you play with plays the flute and you play the tuba, I think you can play some of these together. We're actually going to do one together. Because if you have it, that's great. But if you don't, that's fine too. We're going to look at one of the first 5. Oh, and I should say the only duet that's specific for each instrument is 55. Every edition has a different etude that's more specific for that instrument. Like I think this one's like Bruckner or something, or Wagner. A la Wagner, yeah. Oh yeah, it's based off of Meistersinger. But yeah, we're gonna do one of the. I think it was number 4 that I saw was on their site as one of their samples. So we're gonna do that one. Go ahead and take a second. If you're watching this, whether you're here right now or you're here somewhere in the near to distant future, go to that website. We're gonna be doing number 4, Rhythm Duet. Number 4. I think this is the one they have. Let's look at the trombone one. Yeah. Rhythm Duet number 4 is the one they have. I've probably looked at this one before. We're gonna do it like this. We're gonna do it 2 times. Because the goal with this, and before we play this, actually, I'm skipping ahead. Some things to think about as you read through this in 1 minute. Look at the time signature. This one's in 4/4. We're in 120, so it's somewhere around dun 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 dun, somewhere around there. And we have a couple of dynamic changes, right? We have start forte. There's day crescendo around measure 5, another crescendo around 15 to forte. and then we crescendo in the last measure, which we're just clapping this, so this might be kind of weird, but Then you want to look for time signature changes. This one doesn't have any, but your etude you might do for your audition might have like start in 3/4 and then later go into 6/8 or something. Be aware of what that means, right? If it's doing that, is it keeping the eighth note as the pulse, or the quarter notes equal the dotted quarter notes? So is it like 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1? Is it keeping the same pulse like that, or is it just keeping the eighth notes 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and the dot 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 dot? Keep the eighth note, because sometimes some places will keep you'll see some pieces that keep the eighth note and some that just keep the quarter note. And the other thing is what gets the beat. Like this one says quarter note gets the beat, because like I said, with 6/8, it could say the eighth note gets the beat. So you think about it, 1 2 3 4 5 6 instead of 1 2 3 4 5 6. So just be aware of all that stuff. Look through find that stuff. Are there any weird tricky rhythms? Like I'm gonna look at the first line first. Like if we look at measure 5 6 7, we have a 1 2 3 ta ta ta. 1 2 3 ta 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 ta. So that might be one you want to think about in your head. And then at the end of the second to last line, we have a kind of some tricky syncopation. Da 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 1 2 da 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 ta 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 ta. So just spend some time, find one or two rhythms that seem kind of weird, and read through them in your head, of course, because obviously in the sight reading chamber, you won't have the luxury of being able to say stuff out loud as much. I think they'll be okay if you say some things out loud, but generally you want to try to keep most of it in here. But let's go ahead and give this a try. I'm going to get a metronome running on my computer. We're going to go 120. Yep. Okay. Okay, here we go. And 1 2, rhythm duet number 4, or I guess I should say I'm taking the top, you take the bottom this time. All right? And 1 2 and 1 2, ready, and try it one more time. Sorry, it's kind of weird. Let me readjust so I can see and do this properly. One more time. From the top, I'm taking this top part. You'll take the bottom part this time. And 1 2 and 1 2, ready, and 2 3. Cool. How'd you do? I did okay. That time was much better. I think the only thing I really missed. Hold on, let's silence this metronome for a second. The only thing I really missed was 26, that last line. I think I played an eighth note in the syncopation there. 1, 2, and 4, and 1 is how I played it. When it's actually runs 1, 2, ba ba ba, ta ta. Yeah. So let's try it one more time. This time I'll clap the bottom. You can clap the top. We're doing rhythm duet number 4 still. Whether you clap along or not, it's fine. And another thing, actually, let's do it like this. You can also just play this on your instrument. Just play it on one note, which is what we're going to do this time. I'm going to play it on a F. So you can play something that sounds harmonious to that or something not so harmonious, whatever you want to do. But we're just playing it on F. This is rhythm duet number 4 from the Big Book of Sight Reading. But yeah, here we go. Yeah, just take a minute or two to kind of just glance through it. So you kind of know what this line is all about. Same kind of thing. The big thing about sight reading is just kind of reading and knowing what's going to happen. I think that's really the key to not messing up as much with sight reading, is just making sure you're at least getting one part of it. So, like, for example, if you feel like you have trouble getting the pulse clear, at least focus on the downbeats. If you like let's say if you're looking at it online, measure 5, 6, 7, the ta 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 ta. If you feel like you can't get that, at least focus on the ta ta ta, so they know you at least have the basic, you know where it is. But let's try this. Here's rhythm duet number 4. I'm going to play it. You can play or clap, whichever you like. Like I said, I'm playing it on F. But yeah, here we go. Rhythm duet number 4. 1. All right, let's get the metronome back on. And 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Yeah, sorry. I think I might have jumped the gun on a couple of those measures. That's my bad. But yeah. That's really the key to sight reading. It's just playing more stuff. Now we're gonna do, I actually prepared this before the stream. I didn't look at it. I glanced at it for like a second. We're gonna do a little bit of just sight reading. Another website which we hear a lot. Let's get rid of all of these really quick. Is Sight Reading Factory, which just generates random little tunes like this one. I think I maxed out the difficulty, so I apologize if you don't understand this very much, but this is what I'll be sight reading. I'm going to do one, but you can do it for free, as you can see down here. I think it's showing right. Yep, okay. As you can see down here at the bottom, you have 20 free exercises, and then you can subscribe if you want to, or I think there's something where your band director can subscribe and give their students free access. So if that's something your school has, cool. If not, you might want to lightly mention it. I'm not going to say this is like the most interesting things, because these are all computer generated models. So a lot of them are not, the most interesting. Like, it's going to give you good practice just to read different things. But we'll go through the whole process here after we played through this. So we're in the key of E. 3 3 2. So 1 2 3 1 2 3, and the half note gets the beat. I don't know if it doesn't have a tempo, so you can take as fast or slow as you want. I think the tricky rhythm here are right here and here. This one's not too bad. It's basically just da 1 2 3 da 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 1 2 3 da 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 da. So you gotta make sure that second note is hitting right on the beat. And then up here we have triplet on the first two beats. So instead of being ta ta ta, we're gonna fit 3 in those first two half notes. Ta 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 ta. Something like that. Ta 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 pa da ba ta ta ta. So let's give this a try. Make that one more try. Yeah, I had made a couple little mistakes there. I think I played an E natural over here. This one I didn't take. This measure was not in time. Same with this one. Ta 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 2 3 ta 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 tan tan ta tan ta da 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 tan ta da 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 tan tan ta. So one more time. Yeah, that was much better. And the basic thing you want to think about with these is you want to try to keep moving. If you pause, we're not going to do the audio playback. But yeah, and it's audio playback. I guess we'll listen to it just to hear it. Yeah. But yeah, so as you can see, You can do any of these. So we're going to try another one. You can do, let's do challenge. Yeah, so you can set it, we're going to do a minute countdown. What is this stuff on? I don't know what any of this is. Cursor on, metronome on. Sure. Oh, and we have 60 seconds to work on it. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, or in 3, 8. So we want to think 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Dun dun ba-dum, dun 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 da 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 dun dun 3 dun 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 dun. Pretty simple. It's probably gonna go a bit faster. Dun 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 da 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 da. 3 dun da 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 dun 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 dun. What? Da 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 dee dum. Dee da 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 da. Dee da 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 dee da. Dum ba da 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 dum. See, the one issue with this is that it doesn't list any sort of like. It would be nice if it gave us like at least a general. Oh, it says it over there in the corner. We just couldn't see it. Okay. I still want to play this through, but we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Dun 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 da 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 dee da. Dun ba da 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 dun dee da dee da 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 da. So we're gonna try it a bit. What they want. There we go. Let me try it one more time to see if I can get close to that tempo they wanted. Okay. Let's try it because I wanted to show off that you can like change the level and stuff. So like we can be like level. So you can go as simple as 1 octave, or you can do a custom range. I assume. No, this is rhythm and rests. Okay. Why is it showing that? Okay. Well. So yeah, you'll do brass family, tuba, some of your tuba. So we're gonna do this time. We're gonna do level 4. Do random time signature. You can I think you can customize this. Be like, I want, or no, you just choose one. Okay. Well, I'm gonna do random time signature. You might want to select. Be nice. Oh, multi-select. Nice. Okay. So you can be like, I understand these. maybe 5/8, 5/4, cut time, be like, oh, I don't understand these at all. So you can just ignore those and make like maybe 6/8. And then you can just select those. Cool. So you can multi-select. And we can do the same thing with this one. Like let's say you're in middle school, you're only comfortable with the 4 keys that you know, so you can do that. Or like let's say you learn C just for fun. You're like, oh yeah, I know C. So yeah. And I would suggest staying off of minor until you know minor. Although minor's not too bad. It's the same scale structure. We're just starting from different notes. This time let's play challenge. I'll try the same thing. 60 seconds. Because I think they'll give you, it's either a minute or 2. But yeah. So now we're in 2/4, key of B flat. Let's do it like that. Okay. Pretty simple, and we got a couple of, they place these really weird. Be nice if there were crescendos and stuff here, but I guess you can't. You have to be prepared for stuff like this too. But yeah, let's go ahead and try it. But this is a pretty good tool just for doing a little bit of sight reading challenges. Yeah. Like we saw in the previous one, you can get some stuff that's pretty crazy. Maybe not the most craziest stuff, but let's get rid of Google for a minute. Yeah. But yeah, that's really, I can't really say too much about sight reading without being there with you, besides just making sure you really break down the rhythms. Because I feel like sight reading is split into two things you need to really think about. Is one, scale, notes, key. If we know those really well, if we know our scales and well, then the notes shouldn't really be an issue. Then the second thing, rhythm. If that's what's getting you down, then that's the time to really focus on rhythm. A book that I can suggest for that, I haven't used it a ton, but from what I've used of it, I like, is the Rhythm Book by Daniel Casas. Its chapter just breaks down rhythms. I use it off and on in lessons. I think it has some really good stuff. Like it starts super simple, quarter notes, just quarter notes, and then the second one adds bar lines, and it keeps on going further until we get to like 17, when we see more eighth note type stuff, and then 19 we see 16ths. So I think it's a pretty decent book for learning rhythms. If you struggle with rhythms, this is probably a really good book for you. I link down below where you can find it, and I'll reiterate this because I think I mentioned this in the description below. But none of these products that I'm using, I'm not sponsored by anybody, so I'm not like saying them like, oh, buy them to get me money. I'm saying buy them because they actually do well. They're pretty good tools. Sight Reading Factory, I will say, is sometimes questionable. But it's overall, I think its usefulness outweighs its not so greatness. So I think it's a pretty good tool. Yeah. But I think that's a good place to stop. Honestly, like I said, sight reading, just read more stuff. You can even ask your band director, like, ask if you could read, ask him to give you like random pieces to look at to sight read. That could be a good suggestion because they have a giant most band directors should have some sort of giant catalog of works they have. Just ask them to give you random band parts from stuff, and play through it. Try to like listen to the whatever piece you've selected, but like play along with it and sight read it. But yeah. Sight reading is, like I said, sight reading is not something you work on overnight to get. It's something like you heard from me. Some of the stuff I sight read, I didn't play it perfectly the first time. But you have to keep trying, and you have to keep sight reading, because it only gets better. And like these days, I can read, like that second one we did was a lot easier. But yeah, just biggest suggestion I have for sight reading is just read stuff, play stuff, read music, and the sight reading portion of the audition will be pretty easy. But yeah, I think I'm gonna cut the stream off there, unless there are any other questions about sight reading or scales that I haven't really talked about. But as always, feel free to leave comments or anything after the fact. I'm happy to answer anything, almost anything, I guess I should say. But yeah, just keep practicing. You will do well. Yeah. But yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.